The episode begins with Sheldon seated at the dinner table, obsessively arranging his peas in concentric circles. Mary looks at him nervously. "Sheldon, are you okay? You've been quiet for 8 minutes." Without looking up, Sheldon replies, "I'm calculating the average number of bacteria that would transfer from Georgie's hands to this salt shaker during a regular meal." Georgie, already mid-chew, rolls his eyes and says, "Dude, that's messed up. Don't ruin salt for me." Missy giggles, "Too late." Mary sighs and says, "Can we just have one normal dinner, please?" But just then, Sheldon perks up and says, "Speaking of dinner, did you know that in ancient Rome, people used fermented fish sauce instead of salt?" George Sr. mumbles, "Oh Lord, here we go again." Later that night, Sheldon is seen in his room setting up an experiment involving petri dishes, slices of bread, and different family members' fingerprints. He labels each slice meticulously. Missy posts basketball. Mom, after dishwashing. Dad, unknown origin. And Georgie's slice simply says, "Unwashed since Thursday." Missy peeks in and screams, "You're using our bread for your science stuff? That's gross." Sheldon calmly responds, "Scientific progress often requires sacrifice. In this case, carbohydrate-based sacrifice." Meanwhile, Mary visits Pastor Jeff and confides in him that she's worried about Sheldon's growing obsession with germs. Pastor Jeff tries to reassure her. Maybe God is just preparing him for a future in science. Mary, unconvinced, asks, "Does that future involve growing mold in my kitchen?" Back at school, Sheldon gets into a debate with his science teacher, Dr. Sturgis, over whether it's ethical to perform experiments on unsuspecting family members. Dr. Sturgis chuckles. "Technically, that's not ideal." Sheldon says, "Technically, it's the only way to gather real-time data in a controlled environment." "Your home is not a lab, Sheldon." "That's debatable." In the hallway, Missy plots revenge with her friend Paige. They decide to touch everything on Sheldon's desk with sticky hands. Later that evening, Sheldon discovers his experiment has been tampered with and runs downstairs yelling, "Someone compromised the integrity of my microbial research." Georgie, eating a sandwich, says, "Chill out, Sheldon. It's just bread." "No, it's science," he protests. Missy smugly says, "Well, now you've learned about human sabotage in data collection." Sheldon, surprisingly, nods. "A valid point. I'll include it in my final analysis." George Sr., overhearing all of this from the living room, mutters, "Can someone please pass the salt?" And then immediately reconsiders, putting the shaker down slowly. The next day, Sheldon brings his report to school and presents it to Dr. Sturgis. Despite several setbacks, including sibling interference, the results show that Georgie's hands are indeed a public health hazard. Dr. Sturgis chuckles again. "Well, Sheldon, that's certainly informative. I also learned that scientific integrity is vulnerable to familial dynamics." "That's an unexpected conclusion." "That's life in East Texas," Sheldon replies. In the final scene, Mary walks into the kitchen to find Sheldon with gloves and a mask, disinfecting the counter. "Sheldon, I swear." "Don't worry, Mom. I'm done with experiments for now." "Good. I've moved on to simulations." She looks up at the ceiling in prayer. Sheldon walks out whispering, "Level 1 contamination complete." The episode opens with Sheldon standing at the school bulletin board, staring at a colorful poster that reads, "Science Fair this Friday. Win a trip to the Johnson Space Center." His eyes widen. "NASA? That's like Disneyland for intelligent people." Dr. Sturgis walks by and notices Sheldon's excitement. "Ah, I see you've discovered the fair. Planning to enter?" Sheldon nods rapidly. "I already have 3 ideas. One involves quantum tunneling, one with magnetohydrodynamics, and the last is a simulation of a Martian greenhouse ecosystem." Dr. Sturgis says, "Sheldon, remember, simple and clear wins the judges' hearts." Sheldon replies, Judges shouldn't rely on their hearts. That's how we got disco music. Back at home, Sheldon is scribbling equations and plans across several whiteboards while Missy watches TV. "What are you doing?" she asks. "Preparing to win." Missy says, "You always say that, and then you complain about other people not understanding your genius." Sheldon pauses. "You're not wrong." In the kitchen, Mary and George Sr. discuss the science fair. Mary's hopeful. "Maybe this time he'll make some friends," George Sr. replies. "Or alienate the judges like last year with that anti-gravity shoe that broke Principal Peterson's toe." Later, Sheldon visits the garage where Georgie is working on his truck. "I need your assistance in building a hydroponic chamber that mimics Martian gravity." Georgie responds, "What's in it for me?" The satisfaction of helping humanity take its next step toward colonizing Mars. Georgie scoffs. "Yeah, that doesn't buy gas." Sheldon sighs and offers to clean Georgie's room for a week. "Deal," says Georgie. Meanwhile, Missy starts crafting her own science fair project. A volcano made from baking soda and vinegar. "It may be basic," she tells Mary, "but it explodes. That's what people want." Mary laughs and helps her paint it bright red. The night before the fair, Sheldon's room looks like a NASA lab. He's exhausted, surrounded by wires, beakers, and LED lights. "Perfect," he whispers. Suddenly, one of the water pumps fizzles out and short-circuits. "No, no, no," he cries. Missy walks in with her volcano. "Still think explosions are dumb?" At the fair the next day, the gymnasium is buzzing. Missy's volcano earns laughs and applause. Georgie, who tagged along, snacks on nachos and gives people wrong explanations of the exhibits. "This here? It's a satellite for cows." Sheldon, wearing a suit and bow tie, unveils his project. Controlled Martian biosphere for sustainable colonization. A group of judges walks over. One whispers, "Is this a school fair or a NASA internship interview?" Sheldon proudly explains the system, but when he powers it on, the lights flicker, a strange noise buzzes, and the pump explodes again, spraying green water everywhere. Principal Peterson gets soaked. "Not again," he yells. Sheldon looks devastated. Mary rushes to console him. "You did your best. My best sabotaged our planet's future colonization." Missy hands him a cookie. "Relax, space boy." Later that evening, the family sits around the dinner table. George Sr. says, "You know, Sheldon, not everything needs to be rocket science." Sheldon replies, "But this one literally was." Georgie adds, "Next time, add an air freshener to your space thing." That green stuff smelled like socks. Dr. Sturgis visits with news. Despite the mishap, the judges were impressed. They gave you an honorary mention for ambition. Sheldon perks up. Honorary mention is like first place without the obligation of success. Everyone groans. In the final scene, Sheldon types on his computer. "Today I learned that explosions attract attention, simplicity pleases judges, and sometimes, losing is the best way to test your design flaws." He looks at his old project and says, "Next year, we go nuclear."